Welcome, fellow travelers. My name is SewerServant, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertec at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share tales of adventure.
Hello, and welcome to the Golden Feather Tavern, where your hosts, Chibi and Vertec, discuss Ashes of Creation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week we invite you, the viewer, and a special guest to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. So, today, being the 8th of February 2025, we are on episode 228, and welcome in everybody. My goodness. Just got rated over. Thank you for bringing everybody over,
SewerServant.
Yeah. So, we're on episode 228, and today we're going to be talking about Steven's interview that he just did today on Tangents of Creation with Chaos and Lace. Good folks. They asked some good questions. They asked some silly ones, and they were fun. They were great. But the bard joining us today to talk about such and also share his fun and adventurous story is SewerServant. How are you today, friend?
Hello, I'm doing okay. What's it called? I had a nice start to the day. Some family visited, and I got to see them and give them hugs and everything. So that was nice.
Good. Always fun. Always fun. Well, mostly always fun when family visits, but it's always great when it's a good visit. And Chibi, how are you doing today? And what do we have on tap?
Pretty good. I am also a raider over from SewerServant because I may or may not have had SewerServant up in the tab. But outside of SewerServant bringing a group of people to raid our tavern here, we have a lot of wonderful pieces of information that were brought up in the interview with Steven today. And honestly, some of them, I know you guys have been dying to know the answer when we watched the live stream. A lot of you asked questions regarding like being able to do augments and things like that. And Jamie wonderfully brought up that Steven got distracted by a tree instead of answering the full question.
By a tree.
So,
Yep.
Hi tree, how are you? You're so cute. Yeah, so basically we're gonna go over that and give our thoughts and the most important, though, is SewerServant, who is also on our server, Lyneth, who we got to know through chat interaction. So this is a community member. I believe, didn't the chat kind of suggest to you to start streaming because you were doing like hourly check-ins, like don't forget to drink, don't forget to hydrate.
Oh. Kind of. It was a bit of a mix of like people being very welcoming and saying like, hey, how can I support you, or something like that, or like and there were ways that some people would support me in game, like all of the mounts that I have on SewerServant have been gifts, and
Awesome.
it's just really nice, and it's definitely a mix of like kind of wanting to the original reason that I started streaming actually was so that I could party lead and like give comms to the people in my party, and without them having to give their Discord or like give social medias or anything like that, because I understand Ashes is an MMO, so people aren't always comfortable, but a Twitch stream, they just tune in, they don't have to type, they could just listen and then type in game.
Yeah, that's fair. There is the delay though, so you have like a certain, so if some are like time sensitive, they may still miss out on those, but still being able to hear something versus nothing at all is always nice, and I agree with that. So why the name SewerServant? How did you come up with that?
Oh, I got asked a couple times of like, oh, so you do city work, right? Like, or something along those lines of I'm working in maintenance or anything like that. But I'm doing the reason that I picked the sewer part is because of an artist, Sewer Person. I really love their music and the energy and just the soul that they put into that he puts into his music, and it really resonated with me. So I created this user like maybe months ago, like at least several months ago, in kind of dedication to Sewer Person. Like I'm a servant of sewer sewer person, but it kind of evolved as I got into Ashes.
Gotcha. Okay. And also we have Jamie and Annie in. Welcome in, you guys. Good job today on your interview. Protect, do you have any questions? I don't want to take all of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So I see that you wander around quite a bit. You go on some fun little adventures, kind of solo. Is that basically most of your gameplay? Do you normally just run around solo, or do I just happen to only catch you when you're out, kind of wandering around doing your own thing?
I think it's definitely a bit of a mix of both. The first 2-3 weeks of the servers of phase 2 start, I spent a lot of time just doing what I called mini sewer games, or mini sewer servant games, because I still have plans to do the first one and like the original sewer games, if you will, but those ones were just to kind of get the feel around of how people enjoyed it or what they were like, thinking. So I've done like, Carfin farming. Like there was a solid week where I was with this one group for a good amount of time, and they they went farming for their gear, and I went to Carfin, 3rd floor.
Oh yeah, I remember like we came across your group and we were like, oh no, they're wiping, and we came over and tried to like help like protect you.
I think I remember that day because Vertec had came to my body and was like, "No sewer,
no, not sewer." Hey, just saying, you keep some light and thoughtfulness on the server. Always getting the announcements. Yeah. That's the one thing. Like when we bumped into you, saw that you streamed. I was like, what? Is that the sewer servant that's always reminding people to drink their water and, hey, you're important. Remember that type of messages out all the time. Hopped on over, and sure enough.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely got to say that at least everybody that I've talked to, they all appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And we also would make reference to it while we were just running about, because we'd see it pop up. Oh, there's your hourly hydration check, and then somebody else even like tagged in for you for a period of time when you're like, I'm going to bed. They tagged in like, don't forget to drink your water. I was like, that's adorable, especially because like for the first week, it was a grind fest, right? We're just up for hours and hours and hours, and it's like it can get unhealthy, and I forget to drink water sometimes. So that little reminder is like very wholesome. I loved it.
Yeah, like that first week was actually the biggest reason why I started sending them out, because I spent the first 2 days just, okay, I walk up to the tree, I press F, I walk up to the next tree, I press F, and I just did that I would blink, an hour would go by, and I did nothing but just that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a thing.
Yeah, I figured that so many other people were also doing that or in the same situation. And like the only thing that I would do was walk to the next tree and look at chat to see if what I'm trying to sell is like wanted, or if what I'm trying to buy is there. So I know that there are people looking over to chat and like, okay, is that it? Is that what I want? No. And then they randomly see my message of, hey, Hydration check. Drink your water.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So, before we actually move on into the discussion on stuff, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about from that, right?
There really
they
is.
asked some really good questions. They got some really good info out. So, before we chat about that, is there anything you'd like to get out there? Any kind of plugs or anything you'd like to let people know about?
What's it called? In terms of social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, anything you're about to get up to, if you're trying to have any kind of little events on your channel or events on the server, that type of thing.
I do have one idea of a stream. What's it called? I had the notion of playing a mage for the entire stream and saying every spell that I cast. So I will
lightning bolt.
Yeah, that'll be the entire stream. I don't know how long that stream will go on for, but I want to do that idea when I get my mage a high enough level, because I want to, like, I don't want to just be level 5 and like frostbolt.
Yeah.
It'd be like the
I gave him 5 minutes. I can do that. We gotta time you though. If you can outlast 5 minutes though, then you eventually beat Sinister.
I will definitely beat that. I will beat 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just Mr. Noobtastic kind of got what I was gonna say. It's gonna be like one of those animes where they're shouting the skill they're using every single time. I got developed this new skill. It's called lightning ball. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite is like the LARPing where you can't physically actually go invisible, so they're like cloak of invisibility, and then
yeah,
and they're like walking around. I just imagine something like that. It would be cool if your character shouted spells like in Latin, like Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah. Hello, Knights of Knee. Welcome in. Do it, cleric. Flash cure. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe I can make that a regular thing on my channel of voicing the spells. I mean, the tank. I don't even know a whole lot of the names, like, of the spells themselves. I just chain.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to remember all the names sometimes gets me. I remember the icon and I remember what key I need to push to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, could do like a little 2-minute redeem on the channel, right?
There you go. I like that. It's kind of like the Ashes LARP event when exactly, Annie. Exactly. I agree. But we got to be careful with Annie and Jamie, because every time we end up over on their show, things get a little unhinged. So can only imagine how unhinged, like spicy. Yeah. Cone of cold. Yeah, exactly. Can imagine how unhinged or spicy that could get in a LARP event.
Ready, set, go. First Ashes con.
I imagine, like, I could totally see a tavern and then Jamie and Annie standing like at the gate before they enter. It would be like a pick your poison.
Oh man!
Yeah, in order to enter, you have to appease their pick your poison game.
It's like a speakeasy, but the secret password is answering a pick your poison. To a satisfactory level of whoever's watching the door. Nope, that's not good enough. We need another one.
Yeah, nope, sorry.
It's not good enough. We need another one.
Was not a good enough answer. You can't get in. But yeah, Annie, definitely lots of fun. You guys have a lot of good fun over there. Annie has the door touch. I mean, probably a bit more than that, but I could totally see that being like the fun little teasing of people coming in the door. Or like just a random parlor game off in the corner. If she doesn't like your answer, you have to pay her gold. But okay, there's a lot that we talked about today, and I'm gonna just go ahead and force this ad through for Twitch. Sorry, Twitch people, we are also over on YouTube, just FYI. We do multi-stream. And you are welcome to go there. There are no ads over on YouTube, so for your ad-free experience. Otherwise, your support helps us continue our development of our podcast. And I apologize, but the purpose of the ad is so that there's no ads going on forward. So I'm gonna just go over it. We have a couple of things that we picked out as some stuff that we really wanted to talk about. Is there anything that really stood out to you, SewerServant, that you would like to kind of maybe start off with? One that kind of had piqued your interest the most?
Out of the whole interview, I think what would have piqued my interest, and it is actually just brought up in chat by Kanko, is that all of the classes are getting the tank cleric archetype as an option, not just the tank and clerics get to choose their the two classes in the game they only get to have fun, not the rest of you guys.
So to reference that, for those of you that are new here, maybe don't know what Sewer is referring to, it was stated in the roadmap that in phase 3 we would get tank and cleric secondary augments or augment types, and a lot of people are wondering, does that mean it's just tanks and clerics that get that? Does everybody get it, but it's just the tank and cleric secondaries that you get to choose from? And Vertec and I think we were pretty much on the same page immediately of, no, it would make more sense if everybody were able to use tank and cleric secondaries versus just tanks and clerics get to test out the secondary abilities. So it was really nice to get that confirmation or that clarity coming through. But yeah, Vertec, do you have anything that you want to add on to that?
Just the fact that and I don't know if he said that on purpose, but the way he said it was all archetypes would get their augments released for them. It sounded like he was saying everybody's going to get the two augments from all archetypes. And I didn't get a chance to go back through and listen to the wording again specifically, but I even popped a little question in there. So we're getting summoner augments, so if we're getting augments from every one of the class or every one of the archetypes, that's it's going to be interesting to get summoner augments before we get summoner.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, something like 2 augments or 2 schools for each augment archetype. Yeah, I actually went through and let me just try to find out where that is in this whole thing. Sorry, I wish we had a little bit better topic defining changes. There we go. So will cleric have all augments, or will all archetypes have access to tank or cleric augments? And he says the way that they're going to be introducing augments is that we'll probably be introducing 2 augments from all archetypes. We'll release those all together in P3. They will be able to be augmented a limited subset of skills. Will probably allow easier secondary archetype switching for testing purposes. And by that, I think he also means that eventually you're going to have to pay to change your secondary archetypes in the main cities, and not just be able to do it the way you are right now, where I'm in the middle of Carfin and this one skill is not really working for me. Let me swap over to adding Purify real quick. No, you're going to have to plan out what your skills are going to be, and there's not going to be any changing them on the fly. And then real quick, adding on to that, Jamie asked, what do the passives look like? Do they change the ability? And Steven gave an example about the fighter. I believe fighter has an ability called maim. And so the passive that you're able to add on currently is to turn that into a projectile. And it's an ability of a low impact, like a 1, 2, 3, 4 impact of this passive augment to the skill. And I thought that was really, really cool that we already have something in game that he can refer to. Sorry, Vertec, no summoner augs before summoner. It's only going to be partial release, so there'll initially be 2 cleric augs and 2 tank augs released, but there will be many more of each one come later, P3.
Yeah, see, and that's the part that I wish was almost clarified there. Because the statement almost made it, the statement he made saying the way we're probably going to release it is 2 augments from all archetypes. So
Right.
the way you said that almost made it sound like, yeah, all of them at once. That's how we're gonna release it. Bam.
I just assumed it would be the 2 augments of cleric and tank augments to all archetypes. But I'm realizing I'm not behind Vertec. You just realized
Oh
I'm not
yeah, hanging
behind
out on our
Vertec?
little
Yeah.
tavern wall.
Yep. But SewerServant, what did you think about that unveiling of information?
I thought it was really interesting, and I thought the fact that like the experience isn't limited to just clerics and tanks is such a nice like revelation, like that it isn't like, oh, you need to start making your tank right now and to experience this. Like
Right.
I think there are definitely so many people that thought that and have a tank or a cleric level 10 or 12, and they heard that interview or they're hearing about this and they're like, so I just did that for what?
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Yeah. The other cool thing that came out of this was another question that a lot of us had is how exactly do these secondaries augment the primary classes? And he explained that there's a range of 1 to 10 in terms of passive intensity for power. And 10 radically changes the ability, whereas 1 changes something like a cooldown or mana cost to it. And I thought that was really nice distinction. And traditionally, you may have wanted passives that were like 1 to 3 or 4-ish for like your touch abilities or your character as a whole. And I thought that was really, really cool too. That it goes beyond just your skill sets, but your character's capabilities for mana or HP regen. That was really neat to see it extend beyond just adjusting your skill sets. You as a person could have better HP regen. And I don't know, I thought that was really neat. It adds more to it than just this secondary augments just my skills. But I also know it's not just classes that's going to augment you. I believe it's also your religion, right? There's religion augments, I believe.
Yeah, the divinity. There's going to be some for racial. Probably some, and I'm only saying probably because I think I remember this, but I could be wrong with like some augments related to guilds and nodes and such like that. I could be wrong with that.
But I will leave a lot of this out because we took extensive notes. The link for live stream is in our description on YouTube. I will add you guys the link in Twitch so that you can go and check it out later. But to jump forward, he asked, can you give an example of like what a level 10 power passive would be? And it's one that we've heard kind of similarly. So for a level 7, it would be the fighter augment being able to mage blink forward instead of, dashing forward. And the summoner being able to summon 3 different summons would be an example of a 9 or 10 because of how much that significant power upgrade to the ability adjusts the ability. And I thought that was really neat because Vertec, you and I have been wondering that question for years at this point when they first initiated it. And then he had at once said, this isn't really going to change much. It's just going to change the flavor. And now it seems like they've kind of gone the opposite direction with how they're going to adjust it or approach that. And I think it's a really, really cool adjustment. I don't know. It has me excited to see what the capabilities are. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, SewerServant.
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, I guess
think
we always let the guest go first before I try to put mine in there.
Absolutely. It was kind of a force of habit. I'm normally used to letting other people go first, so I very much took that space to let you talk, Vertec. But I thought it was really interesting, and like to kind of put that into perspective, like, and to change it to kind of tailoring it to like my experience, because I'm not a fighter and I played a bit of a mage, but like I can't. Thinking about being a tank and being able to blink and then chain pull the cleric right in front of like the DPS line. I love that idea. Like, it sounds really nice, and I can't wait for like phase 3 for when all the polishing actually comes in, because like you can dash, like, you know, or like use the movement ability on the tank and then try and pull someone, but it doesn't always connect.
Yeah. A blink into chain pull, no escaping. Yeah. And I'm really curious to see how a lot of that works as well. There's even similar to that is the cleric's ability to fly their way out of a situation. For one, it will fly to a targeted party member so that you can close in on them or get out of harm's way a little bit faster. But the second augment to that is that you can break any CCing abilities on you by doing that. And if I were to augment that further, let's say with a mage blink, maybe now I just blink to that person while I break those CCs. So, you know, there's a lot of times where I could see blinking, adjusting somebody else's skills. And I think that's a good, I don't know. I feel like that would be about a 4 because you're already augmenting it like as a whole package, right?
Yeah.
So for like the initial one and then the first augment of being able to break CCs, that's about a 1 to 2. And then another one where you're just blinking while you're doing that, that would bring it up to about a 4 to me, because now not only you're just blinking, you're breaking CCs as you're doing it. So it's harder to find where you are.
Yeah,
So
honestly, cool. I'd love to have blink as an augment for the tank charge, because it feels really weird, like dashing so fast and coming to an abrupt stop. Like you actually come to a dead stop before you start walking again. That one feels weird, but it would feel a little bit more natural as a blink. Like, so just for the feeling of it, I'd rather it be a blink.
Oh, I did not know that, Nair. So Nair says, I think blink is more than a 4. It ignores all obstacles and other players. So I think that would even be a 7 at that point to bring it up. So yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. Steven called it a 7 for the fighter. I was just bringing on the example of changing not only the base with the already augment that we can click with, but on top of that, the blink. So yeah, it could be very much on the same level as well, maybe even higher.
Yeah, I just know in general, I like the fact that we're zeroing more in on what these augments mean, because for the longest time, there was always a community absolute hard flip-flop from it's absolutely just cosmetic augments to no, it's actually going to impact the ability and change how the ability works, back to no, it's just cosmetic. Augments are just going to be different visuals. And well, the answers that we've gotten and the way people interpreted them made the community just at large, the majority lean a certain way or another. And it's flip-flopped so many times, I got confused on what people normally think. But now that we're actually getting more and more information we get about augments as time goes on, the more we're actually getting zeroed in and people are kind of catching on.
Yeah. Something similar to the augment system and fighting in general is, you know, I'm trying to figure out which way to go with this. We've been kind of stuck to 3 pieces of fighting, right? So you've got your going out and grinding mobs, you've got your collecting glint from said mobs, and then using that glint to run caravans. And right now that's pretty much the main loop that we have. And there's a variety of directions that like they went from this, and I thought that was really, really cool. But the first one I want to go into is talking about the story arcs and how they're being introduced. But before we get into that one, it's more so related to the dynamacy of the world. And someone once asked me, you know, why is Ashes of Creation feeling like a living world to you compared to World of Warcraft? And the answer that Steven gave to Jamie's question about how the world feels very much like it's all on timers, it's all very static right now, versus having more of a dynamic function that was advertised or shared in planning. And Steven's response was that those two aren't really correlated necessarily. And the dynamic elements are how the predicates are used for certain spawners. So right now, a prime example that is in the game today, if you were to go test, are the pocket dungeons that just got implemented in the desert node. And those would normally not be there until the desert nodes got to stage 3. which they already are. So that's why they're in. But once we see something like the sieges come in that will destroy them, or other things like story arcs, that's what will kind of help with predicating when those things become unlocked. And that is a perfect answer and a perfect example of how living the world is, because your direct choices of which nodes you level up first, which node you turn into a stage 4 node first, could be the reason why a certain thing unlocks or never unlocks until it gets sieged later and rebuilt. But what are your thoughts on that? I just, from a D&D, a DM perspective, I love that. I feel like it adds a lot more like reality that the world really is reacting to me being in it, versus the typical table that I see with D&D where like you're just playing a character in a game, you're not actually in the game. So it adds a lot more to the immersion. But what about your thoughts? What did you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement of it puts you more in it and involved with the story or what's happening. Like I can give a perfect example that's not exactly a story arc, but something that like happened one of the weeks of the testing. Steven was going around on Lyneth and decided to drop Firebrand on the Halcyon Fishers.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And there's just that's like, that isn't a story arc that's involved, like that was created by, well, technically it was created by Steven, but it's not created by Intrepid Studios. But like something like that is like what I feel is what makes Ashes and the involvement in this game and being there, because the people that were on for that week or even that day remember people talking, yeah, Steven just dropped Firebrand on Halcyon, like, you know, Halcyon rocks, like, and it was so funny because I was busy at the time, and I look over to my screen, I see Firebrand's foot just taking up at least 80% of my screen. I'm trying to rush to my computer to log off, to run away, whatever, and I just see a flame torch me, and I'm like, oh, why did that happen?
All right, just don't move. It only sees by movement.
Yeah.
But like that's like something that's really interesting with Ashes of Creation, and how much the server and everything pulls into the players, and just creating these moments that are unique to servers. Because I'm pretty sure on Vyra in the desert, he summoned a giant scorpion on other fishers.
Yeah.
And catch you later.
Yep, later.
Thanks for stopping in.
Bye. Thank you.
But to get back on topic, Vertec, what did you think?
So I really, I don't think I can stress enough how much that is one of the big reasons why I got heavily interested in Ashes at the beginning, was just the way that nodes function. The way that the world is going to be dynamic, things are going to rise and fall and unlock and then lock back up based on what nodes are alive.
Yeah.
So just hearing it confirmed and saying like, yeah, I mean, obviously things aren't working as dynamic as we'd like them to in the finished product, but you know, for right now, things are on some timers and whatnot, because that's just the best we can do for now. We can make sure that things are available, but once they introduce all the vaseline and everything, it's gonna be great. Like,
Yeah.
Can you imagine also if the predicate is to have like some very specific nodes available, like all of Riverlands and the desert and the tropics, there's like one node in each that needs to be above like a 4, that would then unlock like a mega dungeon, like a mega raid or something like that, that has like some kind of hidden secret nifty stuff in it. that's only available while those are of a certain level.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely bananas. Like, they could make it
Yeah, I
endlessly
agree.
complex to where some stuff never gets discovered. Just never. 15 years
Yeah.
into the game's lifespan, and Steven could still say, you know, there's still some hidden dungeons that people just haven't found, like, at all on any server anywhere. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really like that too, because like that really drives the curiosity in me to be like, oh, what else have I missed? What else can I go check out? You know? And I think that there's a lot of really neat things with that. And I mean, the other part of the dynamicism is the story arc, which is what I was kind of hinting at a second ago. So for those that don't know, story arcs are unlocked by multiple types of player activity within each realm. And this could be a cultural activity, it could be regional, it could be node progression related. There's a lot more to that besides just here's the story arc. And I think that it's really, really cool because depending on, and my understanding is, depending on the way that your choices come together will depend what happened in the server. And that means that, you know, if we on Lyneth chose to do a certain thing with our story arc and we went a certain path, that may or may not open or unlock something that Vyra never got, because when Vyra did it, they went a whole other like a whole other direction with that story arc, and now they'll never have that open, or maybe not as early have that open. Who knows? But I thought that was just really cool because that has a lot more weight, right, to your choices and things like that. But they did mention on Monday, Steven will be streaming and showing off one of the story arcs. So keep an eye on that. This will already be live for those of you on YouTube. You're going to be seeing this as soon as we're done streaming here. But for those of us hanging out on Monday evening, maybe that'll be something that I can talk with you guys about for Mead Quest, since I'm taking over that one.
Steven, soon to be the largest streamer on Twitch.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's all a conspiracy. He created Ashes of Creation and Intrepid Studios just to become the most well-known streamer. But Sewer, actually, you had a comment or like a thought on this as well, in terms of, you know, people and like story arcs. So
yeah. So what I was thinking was like, with how big the map is going to get at some point, like, I don't know how many nodes are going to be involved in the tropics, but I can't imagine the person that logs on for an hour or 2 hours a day is going to make the trip from Asmarand all the way to the furthest tropic node for a story arc. So
right.
I'm really curious as to how it's going to be affected in region base, and like how that's going to play out towards people that say they're already in a node or an area that's past that story arc, and they want to experience it. So it'd be really interesting to like know more about those details of how it's going to affect individual regions, as opposed to just the blanket statement that we've gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that. The other cool thing is like story arcs can initiate the world events, right? So that's kind of something I hinted at. But Kinko's like, there's something I wish we can have somewhere in the world, like a dungeon that has no precise level. Kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy dungeons, Vertec, where like it could just continue going on, and then it continues eventually getting like more and more high level.
Yeah, that one tower specifically, I forget the name of it, but yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the story arc, to bring it back? Sorry.
So yeah, the story arcs, that's definitely something that's been missing. I personally haven't felt, I mean, I guess that would be a false statement. I have felt the lack of them. I've felt the lack of questing in general, but I haven't really felt wronged by their absence. I know some people have been really sad and like almost ferociously upset that questing isn't completed and they don't have all the quests in there working perfectly well and they don't have story arcs and such like that. So
Yeah.
just the fact that they said like, yeah, we know they're off for a purpose. But on Monday, you know, we're going to be streaming and showing off one of them at least. That'll at least give people more of a flavor of them, because we saw the one with Carfin. There was just a quick little bit of, hey, check this out. Kind of a little bit of sparkling. Hey there, Peoria.
It's hi.
But
Otherwise it goes. How about you?
yeah, I can't wait till they actually bring that stuff in. And I know that a lot of the lore stuff, Steven's already said he's trying to keep as tight to the chest as possible.
Yes.
Eventually they got to bring the quest into testing though. Eventually.
Yes.
Someday we're going to get them all.
But do you think there'll be a bunch of like blinks where like you get the gist of the quest but not like any particular names, like Sand Mama versus
Honestly,
actual Sand Mama name?
I would absolutely love it if they came up with like a copy and paste of canned responses that were like, hello adventurer, can you do a thing for me? Go over there and talk to that guy.
Yeah.
And just like a bunch of stuff like that they could just copy and paste into the quest like temporarily, or even make a tag where, you know, display to player response 17.
Yeah.
That way we could still do the quests and see stuff, but we have no idea what any of it means in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that same level, you know, like the lack of quest, what we are able to do currently is, you know, just go around and smack stuff for like hours. And we were showing some of the new people, like, this is an area where, you know, at this level, you might want to sit down and just be here for a couple of hours. You're like, it's going to be boring. Maybe have some fun, watch a podcast, watch a movie, listen to some music while you're doing it, chit chat, you know. But it's one of those things where how much information are they actually getting from these grinds? And Steven ended up showing that, you know, they actually get a lot. It's not just combat stats either. They're getting things like border transfer information, replication of stat information. They actually had to rewrite entire systems. So for example, from January 20th to about mid-January, there was a very obvious notice that like chat would freeze up, people wouldn't be able to trade with each other, XP wasn't showing up correctly, and they had to like keep trying to fidget with it. And these social services in the game that were not working well, they had to like figure out how to fix that. But going back to the comment I made earlier of, you know, how we're doing mob grinding and caravans and things like that, the caravan system are also the basis of a lot of their vehicle system, and a lot like the different types of mounts that you can have. My brain blinked for a second. As soon as they figure out not all of the bugs, but a lot of the bugs with a system like the caravan, like your mount, etc., these things can then be replicated into more advanced versions of them, like the soon to be coming siege machines or the group mounts that a lot of people are very excited to have. Even as far as ships and water mounts and things like that, they share a lot of the same code in a like componentized system for that. And while people use these more, they're able to identify the non-performant components and high severity types of bugs. That way, when they go to build upon them and we get the ships in the game with the ocean. The desert is currently pretending to be the ocean, and so is the tropics.
It's pretending to be.
But when they get those in, they can kind of be able to fast track them a little bit more and find new bugs that are actually important to that system specifically. But it also helps them to kind of already be more stable when they implement them. And I loved that. I think that was really great design in terms of implementing new features. And I didn't realize just how much like the freehold or the caravan or other things are just very minimum like necessary things to then build upon them and make them better later. Like these are the core things. It seems like we don't have a lot, but if you look at it from this lens, we have a lot. You just don't see it yet. But what are your thoughts, Sewer?
I'd really love to get a good like deep glance into the development side as opposed to the production side, because everything that we've experienced or seen has been production side, and Steven talks and brings up a lot about the side that he's on, the side that he sees and experiences, and everything that he's hiding behind the curtains. And I would really love a good like a peek into those curtains, because like just the comment of the caravans starting being the base work for the like different vehicle systems. I love that statement so much, because I'm kind of thinking about a situation where you build this siege machine, you and your guild or your town built this all up, spent your money, and you're ready to go attack, and you're driving it in, and then it gets stuck on a rock, and that's it. Your big war, your big attack on the town is stopped by a rock. So I actually love that they're taking the caravans and like the all the movements with that and applying it to these things that are coming later, because I can't imagine how frustrating that would be trying to like, you know, make an attack on Winstead or Halcyon and the terrain stops your entire night.
Yeah, uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Hello?
Okay. No, you're there. You're okay. Sorry, you stopped talking so suddenly. I wasn't sure if I lost you.
Oh no, sorry.
Just stopped to the terrain. I was like, wait, huh? Okay. No, you're there. Yeah. You're there. But yeah, I like the fact that question was addressed. Yeah, remember? Yell, invisibility cloak.
Sorry, my bad. I forgot.
Potion of invincibility. Cool.
Invisibility. I mean, I'll take invincibility too.
But yeah, I like that question was addressed, because there were some people really lost on what, you know, the purpose was of the testing that we're in right now, the testing phase. Because there was even a post by someone, I'll go ahead and link it in chat here, because it's a really good example of how confused people were about what exactly we're doing, and a good reason on why that was covered as a question, because he was completely lost on what was going on, where things were, why we were doing this. Questing isn't even in. Why are we testing it just by slaying random monsters? It doesn't feel like there's an actual goal or like an end purpose for this testing. And I mean, I ended up putting a gigantic response in there. Like I wrote a half a book, but and it's nice to see confirmed. Like there's a ton of data that they're gathering that just people don't make an instant connection on, just because they don't know how things are being written in the studio and how they're using that data specifically.
Right.
Yeah, and like Mr. Noobtastic says, the why are we here was a big question. So it's nice that got addressed. Like even down to the caravans being used as the base system for all vehicles is a really solid point. Like if you just run a bunch of caravans and they can fix a lot of bugs with the caravans, they could drop in a siege vehicle, and then the only problem they're having with it is making the guns function correctly. Yeah. Or the not the guns, like the ballista and such like that. And then but the thing's going to move around okay. You're going to be able to mount, dismount. It's not going to teleport you to Carfin if you're trying to siege a castle. All that fun stuff. So I'm really happy that was actually kind of spoken to.
I agree, and I also like something that you and I have talked about, and for those of you that have been watching us, you know that we've referenced multiple times, thinking that some of the bugs have to do with the dynamic server meshing and these changes as you're going from one server to another, and that replication of data as you go through them. And I think that honestly, when he touched on them, it sounds like we were on the right track. And I mean, I think anybody probably could have deduced that from just playing the game and knowing what is the tech behind the game. But it was just really nice to also have him like officially bring that up as well. It's like, yeah, these are some of the things that we're working on. And I mean, Steven obviously can't wait for dynamic server meshing either, but I can't wait to see like that bigger tech at play once they kind of figure out what's going on with these smaller things. Yes, Kinko, that is a very large
Yes,
Reddit post.
it's a very long one. Yeah, and my response was almost as long too, so there's plenty of reading in there. Plenty of reading.
Yeah. If you're bored and you want to read something, there you go. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is that, you know, Steven mentioned that there's going to be a drastic overhaul in how crafting and economy is working, especially with these introductions of the desert node and the tropic nodes, which, side note real quick, I can't believe we're going to have pretty much most of the desert node by the end of this month. And I think a good amount, if not most of the tropic node by the end of next month, I think he said. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tropics and into the sea will be completed next month. And I don't know if that is like on like PTR or prod or just like internally it'll be ready, but that's crazy. That's awesome. And I know the team is hard at work, but with these come a variety of new nodes that you can harvest from and new recipes that you can do. So a part of the question was, you know, how did these things kind of fit in? You know, did they increase the gear drops due to how crafting setup is currently working? And that is part of the reason why there's this extensive overhaul, you know. And I don't know, I'm really excited. I want to see, like, between the data they've collected from phase 1 and that they're collecting currently from phase 2, you know, they see a lot of this stuff happening in terms of like adjustments happening right before phase 3, if not beginning of phase 3. And it's really, really neat. And I know that there's going to be a lot more to these systems. I know a lot of you have been like, hey, this is really bare bones. This is very basic. And the thing is, we only had one like region available to us, and now we're starting to get the desert regions, and I've been super excited. I don't know, Sewer, if you've gone out to the desert yet or harvested any of the nodes that are out there or interacted with that.
I've been out into the desert a couple times before the update and as well as after, so it was nice actually being able to cut down some of the cacti that are sprawled all around, as opposed to, wow, this looks really nice and I can walk up to it. yeah, exactly.
And I'd like to also add in, like, I kind of agree with what looks to be the general presumption that I think by complete, Stephen might mean that everything is in place, like the nodes are in place and resources are in place and creatures are in place, and now it can all be tuned out, and then they can add the special things like POIs and things like that. So it'll be the building blocks are all in place now, and now they just need to start flipping switches and levers to turn things on.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think that it's going to be one of those things where like everything's going to be available to us. Like, as I was talking to our guild before our podcast tonight, you know, even Riverlands didn't have Befallen Forge immediately, but it was still completed for the most part in terms of all of the base nodes were there, all of the resources were there. So I could totally see something like that even with the desert, where, you know, there's that shiny tower that I keep staring off at the distance, but I can't get to it because it's walled off at the moment. Very curious to see what that's all about, but we may not see that until phase 3, but that's fine with me. I mean, as long as we're able to flesh out the remaining bits of like the desert and the tropics, I think that will really, really put into perspective what an entire area of the map can mean for things like right now on Lyneth, we don't even have a tier 3 alchemy table or a tier 3 arcane engineering table. There's a lot of these types of artisan classes that are missing things that they need, while there's others that are duplicated, you know? So I can really start to see how the world is being built by the mayors and by the citizens of those like towns. And there's just, I don't know, it's going to be so cool. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out a little bit over here. But part of that is bringing us into the TTK, which I know you guys have a lot to say about TTK. One heads up, with the changing of the systems and everything, they are looking at level 10 enchantment gear. And right now, as I'm sure Vertec is aware, because he was pretty much 3-shot by a mage the other day, they are pretty crazily tuned. You're able to get level 10 gear and enchant it up. And Steven even made comment on that, saying that they're aware and having meetings on that topic. And specifically, there are changes coming in the next 2 weeks, so just keep your eyes out, that you may see a reduction in enchanting capability. Either they will completely roll it back, or they will squish the stats more. And I am curious to see which direction they go with it, where, you know, you lose all of your enchants, so you have to do it again. I know a lot of people that spent a lot of gold on that. But what are your thoughts?
I think it's really interesting, because it's also like how squishy some tanks can be. Like, I took a look at my stats, I think it was yesterday, and the difference in armor against magic resist is like 700 to 300, and I think that's just such a disparity. Like, if anything, it should be like closer together, like so that it's a solid base. Like, the physical reduction that I'm getting before I add any grit is 50, and then my magic is around 25. So I think there is some more what's the word, survivability or sustain. The word is escaping me right now, but like just kind of making the beefier characters a bit more beefy, as opposed to gutting the enchanting entirely or rolling it back, because it is interesting and it is nice. I do agree with cutting the numbers some, because I have experienced that mage blowing you up in seconds myself, and like I blinked and I was like, oh, I'm gone. So
yeah, it gets kind of nuts. I mean, like Chibi was saying, I was running into the desert one day and ran through the lawless area sitting on my mount, and I calculated it. This mage did 5,707 damage to me in it was like 4.7 seconds, and that was before the grit change. So I had 100% of my my physical mitigation boosted over to the magic. It was basically right on par. So it was pretty intense. Like it's not something I would expect a tank to get blown up that quickly, because the thing was, I was also frozen the whole time. I mean, that's the part that sucks, is I had no chance to respond because I was on my mount. Therefore, when you get frozen on your mount, you can't use any character skills, and if you can't use a character skill, you can't break yourself out of a CC. So I was stuck just sitting on my chicken, like, all right, this is fun, and I'm down.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the comments from chat here is, you know, talking like Noobtastic says it's an alpha, so knowing that you have to expect things to get wiped, reverted, scaled back, and all that. People going so hard to grind gold and all of that always makes me go, Which, I mean, I've grinded gold and I've been pushing on those things, but I'm also, I mean, hot take maybe, I don't know, but I'm also on the same page as Jamie with, like, if you wipe tomorrow, I would not be upset. I'd be like, all right, let's do this again, here we go, you know. But I'm still gonna probably go back and try to get gold and everything again, mainly because we're trying to get a tavern, so kind of
and I'm kinda,
comes with the territory.
And I'm in that same little camp. Like, yeah, wipes are never like great and amazing, but you know, if they need to do one, they need to do one. If they want to do one because they feel that things have gotten imbalanced because of certain things that have happened in the past and they can't really correct for it very well, then so be it.
Invalid invite for Discord.
That might be the old one. Maybe.
Try that one. We've had it work plenty for other people, so I'm not really sure which one that you clicked versus which one they've clicked. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Hello
Hi.
and thank you.
But I was
Much
going
appreciated.
to say, oh, first, cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I appreciate
much.
that.
Cheers and thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And then I was just gonna say
Much
I will take a look
appreciated.
after stream to figure out which ones may be being incorrect. But
Yeah, I got
thank
confused.
you
I
so
went to look
much.
down on the Twitch page to see if the Discord link in there was invalid, but hovering over that even looks good. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely let us know.
Yeah, thank you though. Seriously, thank you. Appreciate you for that. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, that being said though, also like people are like, oh, mage is Steven's favorite class. He's not gonna nerf them. Mage has been nerfed at least twice.
Yeah.
Bad browser probably. Maybe I'll still check it out though. Thank you for letting us know. But the other thing is, and I told Vertec this, I was like, I have a feeling it's really all about your gear. Like once we get you better gear and we're like kind of more toe to toe with them, that's gonna change everything. You know, you're gonna have a lot more constitution, a lot more health, and a lot more things that you can help with, like mitigating, you know, more physical damage, more physical resistance or magical resistance, things like that. And like the difference between like yes, exactly, gear is definitely OP over skill right now, and it absolutely is, because there's so many people that were doing the siege testing with us and we're like, man, I feel like that went pretty well. We all hit like each other like pretty well, and I was able to do tanky stuff just fine. And I was like, yeah, but keep in mind, everybody in this test has the same gear. There's no enchanting, there's no food buffs, there's no nothing. We're all on the same playing field. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. Like when we're all on the same playing field, it feels fine. It feels okay.
I felt like an actual tank. It was crazy. I was able to live longer than 3 seconds. I could dive in. I could throw out some debuffs. I could throw out some tripping peoples. I could chain somebody back. I could run away and still survive to see the next day. And it was great. I felt like an actual tank again.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to make more of a conversation on like how the siege test went for us, but overall, like I think removing all these random things with the gear, it does feel more one-to-one when you're in the same types of gears, because they did have you be able to select between heavy, medium, and light gear, but I was able to like pick and choose pieces from each if I wanted to and make my own set. There's just not a +5 or we're all the same rarity as each other. So yeah, and also chat was talking about, you know, right now getting it first go with the gear and enchant power is not to be expected. It's something that they definitely will have to go over and readjust, but I'm really glad to know that they're saying these issues are probably stemmed from the enchanting side of things and the gear side of things, and not the class side of things. And that's the big thing I wanted to point out to Vertec and whoever else was saying that, you know, it felt different on the testing for the sieges. It was like, yeah, we had the same gear. We were on more equal plating.
Yeah. So never know. If you think like you're doing bad, you might not be doing as bad as you think. Just someone else is doing better because they spent money and time.
Yeah, and like everyone's focusing on upgrading and enchanting the wands. Like they're not enchanting like you said the tank gear, because all like a full set of tank gear completely enchanted, I imagine, is terrifying to like experience. Like, you know, I can't imagine being a mage going through your entire rotation and using every cooldown, and you just are barely touching an inch off the HP bar.
Right.
Like it would be so interesting to see the opposite side of everybody building for DPS and like the best weapon possible and enchanting that to enchanting the armor to counter this.
Right.
Yeah, and Adeptus brought up something else also, like the non-bind on pickup system will forever cause an imbalance.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine the hand-me-down forever of you know, a level 10 legendary that's enchanted like plus 10, and then it's forever handed down. And next thing you know, like if there is you know, competitive brackets for PvP and someone just gets a full set of legendary plus 10 gear.
Yeah.
Man.
Thank you so much again, by the way, for the hype train. Appreciate it. And I mean,
Yeah.
he continued to elaborate, saying, because this is from Adeptus Guilds, saying 50 players can spend 10 hours one day farming for one player to have the best gear. After 8 days, they have 8 people in the best gear, and those people farm for the other 42, and probably in a fraction of the time because they have way better gear, right? And in the time frame will always outpace anyone unless there's only a tier system release based on nodes, just like levels, crafting, etc. And thank you, appreciate that. And I think that really, you know, shines a light on the importance of node leveling and making sure that the nodes aren't leveling too quickly, too like in the beginning, where it feels comfortable, you know, because as these nodes level, you're able to get higher and higher, like with tier 2 or level 2 village stage. I think maybe 3 village is 3. Whatever tier 2 is, I'm forgetting the name at the moment. Having the ability to possibly have like maybe a market system there, that will allow you to start being able to make like T0 gear or like your level 0 to 10 gear. But then once everything gets up to like tier 3, the village stage, then that's when you're starting to get the apprentice level things, and eventually journeyman as we wait to get to tier 4 nodes. And I think nailing down that piecing is important. Yeah,
and also nailing down a good gear degradation and permanent destruction system would actually be good. That way you can totally hand it down, you can sell it to people for sure. But then someday, eventually, somebody's going to get a piece of gear and they say, I have 3 durability left on this thing. And when it's done, this thing is gone. So they keep it in their closet for special occasions. They only pull it out when there's like a node war where they need to defend their node specifically, or there's another one they really, really need to get to take down, and they bring out, you know, the full legendary plus 10 set that's been handed down from 4 players down to him. And it's time to don it, guys. Let's go. The thing's like all sparkly and shiny everywhere, and people are going, oh man, he's serious. He's down to like 2 deaths. He dies twice in that thing, and it's all gone. He's gonna be naked.
Yep. Ooh, or a cursed sword that drains gold or health per second. Not gold, please, not gold.
Oh god.
Oh man. Oh
but
man.
Health, I could probably see that. You have to out heal it to try to keep
You're
them alive.
You're a rogue, aren't you? Sword. You're a rogue.
I feel
I can
like
tell.
But before we close out this session with this awesome interview, Sewer, is there any like thing from the live stream, that the interview that really stood out to you, that you want to maybe talk about? Because I want to make sure we save some time for you here towards the end for any of the topics that you want to cover that we haven't already.
One of the things that I can't exactly remember, like if Steven said this or not, but I'm pretty sure he said it offhandedly, like during one of his streams, was that there's supposedly going to be an XP change. There's going to be some kind of change within the system of how XP is getting earned and gained through that. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it was mentioned, or like that's what I was thinking when the cycle was like the grind loop was being mentioned, is the fact that they are, or I've heard that Steven is thinking about an XP change, or that's somewhere in the works, that this way we're earning XP isn't the like what the system that they have in mind.
Yeah. Sorry, they're hassling me for saying the tavern's closing.
What is this, Utah?
And I think that's interesting, the XP adjustments.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is 24 to 25 is 2 million gold or 2 million XP, right?
Mhm.
So what is getting to 39 to 40 or getting to level 50? Like how much XP is level 50? Like I understand that it is supposed to be a grind. It is supposed to take you a long period of time, but with the current system in place, those last 5 levels, especially as a tank, were like, I don't know about Vertex experience, but those last 5 levels were hell, were actual hell. There's so many nights that I spent in Carfin jail.
Carfin jail.
Yeah, Carfin jail, because I'm just seeing the bricks of Carfin every single night.
Yeah, I think from a tank point of view, because soloing as a tank just sucks. And granted, I've picked up 2 of the easiest to solo with classes, a cleric and a bard. And it's a totally different story. I could absolutely see leveling 1 to 25 with a cleric or a bard solo, if need be. I wouldn't enjoy it as much because it's still going to be rough. But as a tank, absolutely not. I would never.
Have you tried mage yet?
No, and that's probably a whole lot.
I need you to try mage because you're like, this is so easy. This is so easy. And I'm like, to you, because you've been playing it on extremely hard mode. Wait till you see
seeing what mages do, like watching them just like gather like 30 mobs and blow them all up at once. That's just bananas.
Yeah. My life, I am Vertec looking over at cleric and bard. Like, look at how easy it is for them to solo level. That's me looking over at mages.
Look how wonderful that is. They can kill things on their own. They don't need a party.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get in, if you can find a decent group though, because that's what we did. We set up a little static leveling group at the beginning, and we just pushed through like super fast. With that static.
It's interesting that you mentioned solo leveling with clerics, because my cleric that I've made and everything, I originally wanted to challenge myself to play it until it felt unplayable, but I changed that to level 10, and then I will group with other people, because as it works and it's good, but Steven, has said it himself. This isn't a single player game. This isn't meant to be a solo experience. You're supposed to group and make friends and be a part of Vera.
Yeah. See, and Mr. Newtastic, thank you, because you got people like freaking pockets over here. Like, I love soloing cleric in Highwayman Hills area, and then Mr. Newtastic is like, I primarily level cleric as solo. It's not as fast. Yes, thank you.
Oh yeah, it's not fast.
Are like, oh, it's so
definitely
fast.
It's not a game for solo play for anybody, but as compared to a tank, the life of a tank is a lot slower. It's a lot slower.
To be fair, you're saying that, you're comparing my Ninja 400 to the 250 when you could be comparing the 650 to the 250 and see how much better it actually is. So that's in my perspective how it sounds. Oh no!
Oh my goodness, Turgo! Welcome in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the raid. We actually have to wrap it up here soon because for those that don't know, and I will be recording, we are about to be in a node war against feds. So I will be recording this. We'll probably talk about it Monday or Tuesday. But otherwise, if we didn't have any obligations after the stream, I would totally be good to keep going. Your OBS crashed. Oh no. Is there anything, Vertec? Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
Oh no, Turgo.
I know.
OBS crashed, had to raid out. That stinks.
Yeah, I've been there though.
But no, I think we covered kind of everything that I thought was really standoutish. about
Yeah.
everything, and there's plenty of other stuff we could talk about, but we're not trying to take everybody's attention fully off of the interview that
Yes.
Chaos and Lace had. We would like to leave some stuff there for you to listen to and find out on your own. So
Just a
I guess
reminder.
that's the thing. There you go.
Here's the full
definitely
interview
stop
for you
by
to go
and
check out.
give it a watch, give it a like, give it all the fun stuff. Let's see. Question, Turgo says, I have a question. Are we switching servers, leaning more towards that? Not sure if I
Why
should
would
still love
we?
my
No.
character or wait.
I'm really confused. There's not been any
Yeah.
talk about adding
Yeah,
servers
there hasn't been
or
any real
changing
talk
servers.
about more servers existing to switch to.
Yeah.
Outside of the lingering question of in phase 3, if they're going to wipe servers or if they're going to offer some fresh start servers, and if they do offer fresh start, would we jump over to that? And that question's still like way up in the air. Like,
yeah, and that's also like way down the road. That's like May.
It's really going to depend on the state of everything at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no real
don't
like.
worry about that. It's really not that big of a concern.
I think a really interesting part of what people aren't thinking about, or I like not focusing on with a potential server wipe, is you would get to build the towns the way that, like, you know, they would properly, like, you could in Winstead they could leave, like, you know, some spots out like for a journeyman lumbering and apprentice lumbering or stuff like that. Like, you know, there's so much to rebuild on that. I don't see wiping as, oh, all of my everything is going away. I see it as I get to try and corner the market on Caravan and sell as much as I can at the beginning of a server wipe, because there's so much information that people have gotten and pulled from experience, and I'm just so excited.
See, and that's kind of where I stand personally. I would actually not mind an entire server wipe and a restart, because it would give me a chance to see if I learned the right lessons while leveling up and during my journey right now. Like, did I learn the right lessons about how Ashes works currently? Granted, all of that could change down the line, but
absolutely,
either way, it would still give me a chance to be like, did I pull the right information from the right places? Did I actually learn from what I did, or am I still kind of not doing everything quite right? Like, we were always at the lead or towards the lead of the pack on quite a few things as we were leveling up and whatnot. But could we have done it better? I think we could have done it better. Like, did I get it right the second time?
Yeah.
I definitely see what you mean by that, by like just choices and like not knowing everything, because with the professions, like focusing on 5 instead of trying to level them all up as high as you can, like, you know, just understanding, okay, I'm only cutting trees on this character.
Right.
Yeah, apparently somebody, by the way, leveled up all the way to 25 just chopping trees.
Probably. I would not doubt it. Would have taken a very long time doing it, but I would not doubt it. But I just wanted to say real quick, SewerServant, we're going to be raiding over to him. So I'm actually thinking of going ahead and removing the guide the raid except for specific nights, just as a heads up for those of you hanging out in our channel. But SewerServant does also stream, and just one more, I know that for those of you on YouTube, you're not as chatty, so it may seem like a little bit of spam, but here's his socials, and he's also tagged, and we're about to raid over to him, so there's that. But we will move over to that. Things I want to cover, I think we're going to cover on Tuesday, and that'll give you guys some times to go and check them out and see the interview for yourself. And I really want to talk about the freeholds and some of the other adjustments that we didn't get to touch on today. Tavern marathons in our lives. One day for sure. The goal is to eventually be able to do this full time. So maybe I'll be able to go live a little bit more often, but I am in the works for some other stuff. So
we also need to do our charity stream that we weren't able to do in October because of the floods. So there is that.
And we also need to do and the next unofficial content creator program that we didn't get to do either.
Yeah, the 2025 unofficial content creator summit. Yeah, we got to get that together.
Okay, cool. Sounds good, Adaptus. I would be happy to hear about that. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get the raid prepped on over to SewerServant. Vertec, you do your thing.
All right. Well, normally, I would say SewerServant, do you have any last things to say before we let you go? But we're not letting you go. We're going to go visit your channel. So by all means, everybody, stick around, hang out. We're going to go see SewerServant here next. You'll see a little bit more of what the SewerServant does. And as for you visiting us and hanging out here, as always, we do appreciate every minute that you spend here. Time is a commodity you can only spend once. When it's gone, you don't get change, you don't get refunds. You cannot complain to the manager and have it re-prepared for you. It's spent the first time around. So we hope you feel like it was spent well. Yes.
And join us in doing a big old-fashioned tavern raid over to SewerServant. And see you on Monday for Mead Quest. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to give us a...
Oh no.
It's really a minute. Oh
man. So you know when we go live next time, so you could join us. Also, we're over on YouTube at the same time, so you can go check out Replay Crew over on YouTube. Otherwise, see you guys next Saturday with Chappy J. And have a great week.
See you this Monday for Mead Quest and Tuesday for Tavern Talks.
Yep.
Right back here. Catch you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.